Ryan Elliott for Boxing News. We're in Newcastle's press conference day with me, Frank Smith. Frank, must have been feeling like a bit of a cursed day at this, but the show goes on. Shabazz Masoud headlining Saturday night.
Yeah, look, the focus for us was to keep the show on. As always, it was. We got eight undercard fights on this show, and that's what we needed to do. Shabazz, obviously unfortunate. He pulled out of the Liverpool show, but to get him out so quickly is great to see. And Pat McCormack will be back very soon. So, look, Newcastle for us is a huge market where we want to keep pushing. As we said up there, St James's Park in the future. We've had some special nights here with Lewis Ritson over the years, and we believe there's some massive opportunities. And we got the stellar, especially the young talent coming through with the next gen card. We got some great fighters for the future here.
Start with the main event. You mentioned it there. Pushback with Shabazz Masoud, Jose Sanmartin. Experienced fighter, been in the likes of Maurizio Lara. What do you expect to see from Shabazz this weekend?
Yeah, look, after we're so long out the ring, Shabazz has had so long out the ring, but the stage of his career he's at, like I said in the press conference, these are the kind of fights he needs. Sanmartin's an experienced fighter. Like you say, been in there with Lara. I think he lost against Gonzalez, who was 25-1 in his last fight. So, it's the test he needs. It's definitely the test he needs, and we're excited about Shabazz Masoud. We have been. We signed him, 5 months ago now. Obviously, unfortunate delay, but we are where we are, and next year in 2024 we definitely expect a world title shot towards the end of the year.
That's what I was going to come on to. He's got that world rank, and I think he's been knocked down, but he's still 6 with the WBA. If he comes through this, probably top 5. He'll be one to let off the leash as soon as possible. I spoke to him before. How do you kind of manage that? Do you think that is the realistic time frame, maybe 1 year from now?
Yeah, I think so. Like with the step he's taking here, the type of fight he's taking here, and the team he has around him, obviously, Ben Davis, and I think, that will definitely be the plan and the focus for us. As we've said, obviously we want to build fighters. We need to build fighters still, but at the same time we need to make real fights. And, fighters taking opportunity is the key to that.
Sure, on Mark Dickinson. I spoke to him before the press conference. A lot less lively than that. It's a bit spectacular what we saw up here. A bit surprised.
I've never seen him like that. But again, it's good to see that there's some fire between the two of them, because as he steps through the levels, to experience that at this stage of his career, he's young in his career, but he's a very experienced amateur fighter, but he's young in his professional career. But that kind of thing, that gets you fired up for a fight. And again, that's what we need. That's what we need to see. Apologies for the swearing. But I was wondering if one of them was going to jump over me to the other, so I was a bit nervous. But that's it's going to be an interesting fight. And good to see him back in the ring, Mark, because he's had a little bit of a delay, but good to get him back out there.
Just to go back to, I said this must have been feeling like a cursed day. Cyrus Pattinson, Lewis Ritson. Lewis was at Cyrus's fight. Was that fight done prior to what we saw?
Yeah, it was ready to announce. It was it was a tremendous fight, that fight against Conor Walker. And every fight Cyrus Pattinson's in, he brings entertainment. But one of those things. That's why it took a bit longer to announce. Pat McCormack obviously is a fighter who we believe has huge potential for the future, and someone we're going to invest a lot of time and effort into. But yeah, the date's been a bit of a nightmare, but we're here, and on Saturday night we're in for a great night of fights.
You said that there's a lot of local talent on this bill, not only talent but a lot of ticket sellers as well. Would your message to these guys kind of be, look, keep winning, perform well, you could be the headliner here, there's a big room for someone to come in and headline?
100%. I only have to look at what Lewis Ritson did, throughout his career, the numbers he brought into that arena. And also, as I say, the atmosphere in there was one of the best we've been involved in. We travel the world, we put on some huge shows, but that atmosphere when he used to walk out in that arena was like something else completely. You got great talent, as you say. Cameron Vong obviously is a special fighter who we're very excited by. He sold a load of tickets, and I think he's going to build a massive following here. Callum French back out after a period of injury. He's another fighter, always an exciting fight, big ticket seller. You got the Rees brothers as well, obviously Jimmy Sains from London, but fighting up here, we believe he's got massive talent for the future. But it's a market that we know works, and it's a market that we're going to push very hard.
I want to ask you about the market right now. Eddie's been coming out recently and saying, look, we're not doing easy fights anymore, we've got to be prepared to lose fighters as well. Do you feel like after a lot of disruption and changing broadcasters and people throwing a lot of money, that the market is starting to settle down now and people do need to see these fights?
I think it has to, 100%. But it's not about fighters not getting paid. Like, fighters deserve to get paid. It's a dangerous sport, it's a tough sport. But the only way the sport's going to grow over the long term is by people taking real fights that people are interested in. As I mentioned up there, the UFC, the UFC have done a tremendous job because they put people in proper fights. And it doesn't mean we're going to take away from that building period of building a fighter up, but it gets to the point a bit like the Ishmael fight where 11-0, 8-0. It's time to step up in a proper fight that people are interested in. And the reality is, if you're a character, if you go in there and give it 100%, look, I'll give you an example, Cyrus Patterson. Cyrus Patterson, Conor Walker's a great rematch. It's a great fight. Whether that's the fight next, let's see. But that builds you a fan base because people want to see entertainment. I think when it comes down to it, it's going to be good for the long term of the sport. I think there's been so much money in the sport, which is great, but so much money in the sport delivering fights which don't necessarily deliver value. And at the end of the day, everything has to deliver value because otherwise it comes to an end.
I'm sure you saw Deontay Wilder's quote yesterday saying that the talks are kind of back on for the Andy Ruiz fight maybe early next year. Does that suggest that AJ will have that interim fight, and where are we at with that?
Yeah, look, we're working on plans for AJ now. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about the Deontay Wilder fight over recent times, but we are working on. The focus for us is to keep AJ busy. He's wanted to stay active. Obviously fought in April, then August, and the view was always looking at December, January, and we're continuing to do that. So hopefully some news soon. We're working very hard. But we'll see. We still want to make the big fights, but at the same time, we want to keep him active. His request to us is he wants activity, and I'm sure we'll see the big fights. It's frustrating because we are as much fans as well. We want to see the big fights. We want to see the Wilder fight. We worked hard for a long time to try and make the Wilder fight. It didn't come off, but it doesn't mean it's not going to not happen in the future.
Who do you think is the most likely next opponent for Anthony Joshua based on where we are right now?
I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say something and then it doesn't. Everyone goes, well, you said that. I'd rather just do work in silence and see where we end up.
So we're on Joshua Wilder. Obviously, Deontay came out and sent a message to Anthony Joshua and said he definitely wants the fight to happen. I know you guys are keen to make it happen as well. Is the Middle East still on the table? Where do you think that fight is most likely to head if it's next year?
Look, it's a massive fight. I think it's one of the biggest fights in the sport. Commercially. So it has to make commercial sense. And that's the discussions we go through now. I still believe it can happen. There's so many big fights to be made in the heavyweight division. So let's see, Middle East, as you say, there is definitely a big opportunity. There's a lot of boxing going on. So we'll see. But I'm confident it happens at some point. I'm confident Joshua Fury happens at some point. All the big fights will happen.
World title's free agent Francis Ngannou. Have you guys had any discussions?
Oh, not me personally. I mean, he did a tremendous job. But Eddie's obviously spoke to Francis in the past. And I'm sure he's going to be looking at what's next for him. There's some huge opportunities for him. He has to make the right choice. I don't know whether he's thinking about boxing or MMA next. He's obviously got to deal with PFL. So it'll be interesting to see what he chooses next. Any
temptation to do Joshua Ngannou?
That'd be an interesting fight. But I saw, Ngannou I think came out and said there's only one boxing fight on his mind, and that's the Tyson Fury rematch. So let's see.
So we're on Joe Cordina, got the win. He wasn't, by his own admission, too pleased with the performance. But what's the most likely next avenue? He seems to be leaning towards wherever the most money is.
Yeah, look, that's where he's at in his career. They're the fights he wants. It wasn't as easy, or not easy, but it wasn't what people expected. It was a close fight. It was an entertaining fight, and it was a great card top to bottom as well. 4 fights of all-out action, which was great to see. I think now for Joe, we got to deliver the big fights, whether that be Lee Wood, Navarrete, Shaki Foster unification. Those fights are all there, and we got there's some exciting fights to be made in 2024 across all of those guys.
Eubank Ben, we're close. Eddie's working on it this week. Is it still likely it could be December 23rd? Are we looking at next year? What's the most likely date?
I think next year. There's work going on in the background, discussions ongoing. Let's see. Everyone wants to make it happen. It's the biggest fight. There's no question about what the biggest fight out there is for all of them. Everyone involved. It's that all day long. And I'm confident that we will see it. But still work going on.
I know you said discussions ongoing. Where do you think we'll see it? Any further discussions with the board?
The focus is to do the fight in the UK, and the fight will take place in the UK. But let's see over the next few weeks.
Just a quick one, Dmitry Bivol, hinting he's going to be back soon. Anything you can tell us?
Yeah, we're working on plans for him now. We've got a few discussions going on about where and when, but he'll be back out in the ring soon. It'll be great to see. He's had a period out of the ring, out of everyone's control, but the focus is getting back in the ring and get, look, he's one of the pound for pound best fighters in the sport, and I can't wait to see him back in there. And sets up a huge undisputed fight between the winner of Callum Smith and Artur Beterbiev next year.